everyone. I hope you're well. I am Carla. I'm a pediatric sleep consultant. My company's called Snooze Tots, and I'm here for the next half an hour to answer all your questions related to your baby's sleep. So fire away and just type away, and I'll get through as many as I can for you. My hot drink while I'm waiting. Okay, so here is the first question. My little one is about to turn 8 months old. She is happy eating solids and drinking water, but is currently breastfeeding sleep. This is for both naps and night. I'll be returning to work soon, and little one will be going to nursery, where she, of course, won't be fed to sleep. Do you have any advice or tips to get her to settle for naps without feeding? It's really just choosing a settling approach that you want to use, that you're comfortable with. Maybe you want to be in the room and do it, really quite hands-on, or you might want to do something where you step away. There's lots of different settling approaches, and it's the right one for you that you need to pick. So use a settling approach. I'd say if you're going to do naps, you might as well do nighttime as well. And just persist. It might not happen overnight, but it just takes practice. And also just make sure you're getting her down at the right time for her age. So 8 months, you're looking at roughly wait time of about 3 hours. You might be on 2 to 3 naps, depending on the length of her naps. Often they're on 2 naps. Yeah, just find that settling approach you're happy to use and just start teaching her to fall asleep on her own without being fed to sleep. My baby is 5 months old. She has always been fussy. We are now co-sleeping, and I wake 5 to 7 times a night to feed her. She will not go to the cot, and I do this just to cope. Where does it end? I'm starting to feeling depressed that she will be in the bed with us until she is 7. Also, I'm never without her, and I'm missing time with my partner. It's really hard. So I get it. Things that you can do, you can start trying to teach her, do it really nice and gradually. Use a really hands-on approach where you're by the side of her sleep space and try and settle her from the side. It will take a couple of days for her to get used to the fact that you're not doing it, you're not feeding her to sleep, and she will get the hang of it. It will just take practice of teaching her. And you might, if it's all too much to do naps and nighttime, if you're finding it's too much, then you might want to start with nighttime. I often find though, if you do night and naps at the same time, there's a bit of consistency. So it's once you commit to it, you go for it, and she'll learn. It's a case of just learning. She's 5 months, she's still quite young, but she can learn to self-settle. Just make sure that you're giving her the right timing, that you're putting her down, so roughly about 2 hours 15 for each nap wake times. But yeah, it does end. You said until she's 7, she will get better at sleeping. Okay. My 17-month-old just doesn't seem to sleep. He's been teething since he was 1 month old, and pretty much his whole set of teeth with the last 2 to 3 pulsing out. He's struggled a lot since he was born with teething. However, I thought by now things would have got slightly better, but his sleep seems to be getting worse, and I can't understand why. He goes to bed around 7 and wakes up continuously through the night, first time around 9 to 10, then around 12 to 1, and recently has started fully waking up around 3 and 4 and not going back to sleep. He has good meals during the day, and 2 naps around 10 to 11, and second one around 2 to 3. They both probably last 1 hour 30. He's a healthy boy who's hitting his milestones and developing well. Has anyone else been in a similar situation? So he's 17 months, so you might want to try to think about just getting him onto 1 nap a day. I need to know more information about, does he know how to self-settle? Because it sounds like he doesn't. He's probably relying on something to self-settle. So is he being rocked to sleep, fed to sleep? Because if he's waking up a lot, that's a sign that he doesn't know how to put himself back to sleep. So I would first work on teaching him independent sleep skills, and also I would try moving him onto one nap at 17 months, because he said he has 2 naps. Yeah, so aim for 1 nap at lunchtime around 12:30 as well. My baby is 2 and 4 months. How do you get rid of bottles and the soother? So when you say how do you get rid of the bottles, are you meaning getting rid of them because your baby's feeding to sleep, or just generally just don't want to give them a bottle anymore? I need to know what you mean by that. With the soother, especially at their age, just explain that it's going bye-bye, and you could take a little box for it and say it's going to the Gummy Fairies or something like that. And they will forget about it if you just get rid of it. I usually find if you go cold turkey, it's the easiest way to do it. My 8-month-old never sleeps through the night. She has done it on a few occasions, but never consistently. Sometimes she will wake 3 to 4 times for a bottle, cuddles, barely drinks a bottle, but cries for one. Why isn't sleeping through the night yet? I feel like I still have a newborn. So because I imagine in this case as well, she's using the cuddles, and she's expecting that you're going to help her go to sleep. She drinks a bit of comfort, and then goes back to sleep. So I would do something where you sit by the side of the cot when she wakes, and settle her from the side and do gradually less and less. And you can move a little bit further away so the cup gradual retreats, and use something like that approach. And she'll start learning to just put herself back to sleep. So we all wake up multiple times in the night. It's our ability to go back to sleep ourselves. That's what you want to teach her. I also would probably suggest a nice comforter. So if you're not already using a comforter at her age, it's quite a nice thing to do, so that she's just got that comfort instead of crying out for you. So when you say my baby, how do I get rid of bottles generally? So are you using? You can move to a cup. That's often better than using a bottle at their age. That's what I would just suggest trying to teach them to use a cup instead. At 2 years, it'd be quite capable of using that. But if it's about, I don't think you're asking about feeding to sleep with a bottle, are you? If it's just about you getting rid of the bottle, I would just switch to a cup and get them used to that. If they're taking good meals, it's not necessary the milk, unless they've got some health condition, they shouldn't need it. So I wouldn't worry about that if they don't take it. But they will if you start offering it in a cup, they'll start taking it when they want it. We've tried establishing a 7 to 7 routine with our 16-month-old, only for him to wake up at 11 p.m. and stay awake for 4 hours no matter what we try. Same goes for when we tried a 9 to 9 routine. Am I missing something? What is about 12 to 12 and make him sleep more successfully? So I wouldn't be so caught up on about 7 till 7 routine. So at 16 months, you're looking at about 1 nap. So I would just stick the day at, so let's say he wakes at 6:30, it's not the end of the world, 6:30, 7, whatever time he wakes, stick with a nap at 12 or 12:30, and let him have his 1 to 2 hours, and then put him down. If he's had a good nap, then you should aim for about 7:30. If he's had a bad nap, then get him down early at 6:30. Don't be stuck on the 7 o'clock bedtime. If you need to move things, you might need to move them to be a bit more flexible. How to go from bottle to cup, simply start offering them in their milk in a cup, and just it would take practice for them to get used to it. My 4-month-old just screams if Daddy tries to do the bedtime routine. We have a solid routine of bed, book and into the cot with the dummy, and he settles there. I just occasionally pat him and put his dummy in. Daddy does it and he screams, so he picks him up to rock him, but he screams, and the second I hold him, he settles. And if I put him down and he grizzles into his dummy, as Dad goes to turn him to him, it turns into full-on screams. They can have this, I wouldn't want to say preference, but sometimes they do choose one, they settle quicker for one parent or the other. I'm a great believer in that both parents should be able to put their baby down. So I would just keep persisting with Daddy, but Daddy should be doing the exact same as you. So try and not be rocking him if that's not what you do. So if you're settling him from the side, you're patting, so do that. Get Dad to do the same as you, and after a while, if Daddy keeps persisting, he will be fine with it. They do go through phases where they prefer one to put them down than the other, but if you can just persist, they'll get through it. My 18-month-old daughter has never been a good sleeper, but improved quite a bit when I stopped breastfeeding about 14 months. But the past few weeks has got very bad again. At first, it seemed to be teething that was the problem, but she managed to jump out of her cot, so I've had to change her to a toddler bed to keep her safe. But of course, she can now get out as much as she wants, and I can't get her to stay there. Every night I've been sleeping on the floor next to her, but she just wants to sleep on the floor with me. I've tried the gentle approach and the strict approach, but either way it ends up the same. Any ideas would be appreciated. Okay, so because she's only 14 months, which is very, very young, to be out of the cot, first of all, have you put the cot to the lowest, to literally the ground, to see if she can still get out as like that, because it's very young. They don't understand the boundaries of staying in bed, not till they're closer to 3. If you tell even a 2-year-old to stay in bed, they're very unlikely to have that impulse control to stay in bed. So if you still have your cot available, I would probably try that, putting it really low on the floor, the mattress and the cot, to see if she can still get out. Then obviously you're going to have to go to a cot bed, a toddler bed. But what I would suggest is, just in terms of safety and also to gain a little bit of control, I would be putting a gate on her bedroom door. And also, when she gets out, silently return. Just keep silently returning. No interaction. Don't even say, don't do that. Just silently return. If you have to say anything, have a key phrase that you're going to use every so often. Like, it's bedtime, Mummy loves you. And that's it. Put her in her bed. And just keep on returning. I would say, if you are going to sleep on the floor, gradually move further and further away towards the door. And if you've tried all that and you are comfortable with, and her room's safety proofed, then I'd be putting a gate on the door and you're comfortable doing that and leaving the room. And then if she's up and everything's safe in there, then it's okay. But you can silently return her to her bed if she's been out for too long. But it might work better you not actually being in the room and just going in at check intervals. My daughter is 6 months this week, but she prefers to sleep on her stomach face out into the mattress. I've just managed to start sleeping at night, and now I'm worried. I'm a worried mess again. She sleeps well and can sleep for up to 8 hours without waking for a bottle. Any tips on how to stop it? Every night I put her on her back, but she just puts herself back in this position constantly. If your baby knows how to roll from front to back, doesn't say here if she does, 6 months they often do, if you can constantly roll from front to back, then it's absolutely fine. The lullaby trust, the safe sleep guidelines say always put them down on their back to sleep, and if they can turn and they prefer to sleep on their front, then that's fine as long as they know how to go from front to back. So I wouldn't worry about it. But always make sure that you put her down first on her back, and if she wants to put herself on her front, that's fine as long as she's confidently rolling from back to front. Because some kids, I sleep better on my front. Sometimes they do sleep better on their front, as long as they are constant rollers. My 20-month-old has sporadic woken nights, can be up for a few hours before returning to bed. Then other nights she'll sleep 7 to 7. We've just had 2 weeks every night of this. So it can be up before returning to bed. So what does she do when she is awake? If it's a case of she's quite happy, then I would leave her to it when she wakes. She's done quite well for 2 weeks. When you say she's 7 to 7, we've had 2 weeks of that. I'd stick with what you're doing. And if there are nights where she's up and she's not upset, then I would leave her to it and let her just get on with it. If you go through little funny times, and if it's just if she's just playing or just chatting to herself and then goes back to sleep, then that's great. I would just leave her to it. My 10-week-old son feels scared when I put him on his back, feels like gasping and wriggling his hands and feet, I think you're saying. I'd need to know a little bit more detail of what you mean, what's going on when you put your baby down. 10 weeks old is very young still. So I need to I can't really advise on that, any advice on that, because I don't know exactly what you mean. My DS is 5 weeks, and I understand I need to start a bedtime routine at 6 weeks. Is this right? Can you recommend any simple routines? I don't want to bath them every night as the skin gets too dry. So you don't have to start a bedtime routine. You do it when you want to do it. It's just nice to do it when you feel ready. A nice bedtime routine is something they can start associating with wind down. So a nice bedtime routine, simple bedtime routine. If you don't want to bath, then just do some baby massage perhaps. Have a feed, get them dressed into their cot, or have a cuddle, and then you want to read them a book or something, and then put them into their sleep space. My little girl is 16 months, has enjoyed a lie-in during lockdown. She normally goes down in her cot about 7, but often play a bit on her own in there before falling asleep. She has never been an early riser, usually waking around 7:30. But recently she's been waking about 9:30. 9:30 in the morning, that's a dream. Even if she does wake up, she's happy to lie there and play. Today I woke up at 10:30, checked my clock and panicked because she hadn't stirred. Should I be waking her? Is this healthy? She still goes down for 2 hours in the afternoon and always happy when she wakes. Your child might just have high sleep needs. If she's getting good sleep and she's happy and healthy, then that's not a problem. I would say if you were letting her sleep to 10:30 and she still didn't take a nap in the day and that's through all the rest of the day off, I would say make up. Most kids' latest is 8 o'clock, I'd say, wake them up. But if she has high sleep needs and she's happy and she's not lethargic the rest of the day, then that's fine. If you're worried about anything, I would speak to your doctor and just check everything's okay. Any more questions? That's the question about my 10-week-old son. When the bit that I would say I can't really comment because you say about gasping, which is they do it does take practice for them to get used to, especially if he's been falling asleep on you. But if it's a case that there's gasping or anything like that, then I would speak to health visitor just to make sure, because I can't tell you exactly what's going on. But if it's a case of it, sometimes they just need practice at being put down on the surf, on their bed, on their cot, because they're used to falling asleep on you, and it can come with time and practice. Oh, Here, you've answered the question here. So basically, when I put him on his back, he sounds like gasping, like feeling scared, laying on his back. Sometimes it feels like a reflux. And once I pick him up from laying down his back, he stops making the gasping sound. So it could be that he is just not used to being put down in his cot, and that just comes with practice. So what I would do is put him down in his cot, and then if he starts crying, then pick him up. You can pat him. Whatever settles him, and then try practicing putting him back down again. And at some point, he's going to get used to just settling. You can pick him up again and keep trying it until he settles. So when you put him back down, just give it a couple of minutes, listen to him, and does he need your help? Does he need your support? And if he does, then pick him up again and just keep practicing putting him down until he gets the hang of it. But the gasping thing, I'm not sure if you meaning that he's just crying, or he's upset, or it's actually like gasping for air, because I'd need to know a little bit more about that. My 2.5-year-old does not sleep through. We follow the same routine every night. Bath, book, bed, asleep by 7:30. She breastfeeds to sleep still. We tried early bedtime to see if it helps her wake. We tried later bedtimes. Nothing makes a difference. The first wake up is still always between 10:30 and 11. Second wake up is 11:15 to midnight. I go and breastfeed her back to sleep. Third wake up again. I repeat the same. She maybe sleeps maximum 2 hours before running into our room to sleep and stays asleep in our bed. 2:30 till 7. This is always the same every night. Also will not sit from my husband at night time. She absolutely screams for 20, 30, 40 minutes until she's sick. She's hysterical and shouting, "Mummy, mummy, not you, daddy." She doesn't give in, and it's awful to see her so upset. For me, when she wakes up, she's asleep. Again, within 5 minutes, always would do. Any advice? If you choose to feed to sleep at this age, she's probably going to continue waking, because she's going to want feet to go back to sleep, because we all wake up multiple times. It's just our ability that we don't, it's such a non-event that we just put ourselves back to sleep. So I'd say at 2.5 you can teach your little one to self-settle. Use the gradual retreat. Do something where you're in the room and you gradually, and give her lots of support at the beginning, and do gradually less and less and get out of the room slowly. It takes practice and some time and persistence. But she will get the hang of it, and then no wake-ups should disappear. Also, if you haven't, you've got a comforter. It's quite a nice thing, like a little teddy or comforter. Introduce that. So what I would do is put it, if you've not already got one, she's not attached to one, wear it down your top so that your smell is on it just before you give it to her, and then whilst we're having feeds, and then like you're reading a book at night time, just have it in between you so it becomes like a really nice positive association, and then give it to her. It will just take practice and using a settling approach that you guys are comfortable with. It could take, I mean, she might pick it up after a couple of days, it might take a couple of weeks, but we'll get the hang of it if you're consistent. Any other questions? Oh, the other thing about that one is you said that she runs into your room to sleep. So what you're going to have to do there is, assuming that she's in a bed, if she is, then you might want to put a gate up on her door. And also, if she isn't, if you've not got a gate and she is running into your room, you're going to have to silently return her. So when she comes into your room, just take her quiet, silently back to her bed. Because even if you were like, "Oh, stop coming into the room," it's still negative attention. It's still attention. So she will want that even if you're not, if it's not praise. So you kind of want to just silently return her to her bed. And you just have to keep on repeating it, even if it's 10 times in the night. Okay, my daughter is 3, nearly 4, and occasionally will wake up at 2 to 3 a.m. and stay awake for anywhere between 1 to 3 hours. She's not always happy, but it's very loud. We don't go in unless we have to. If she's distressed, we have to take her for a drive, recently diagnosed with ASD. So is she, first of all, I would ask you, is she still having a nap? And if she is, then it might be time to stop the nap. And then in terms, because if she's got autism, I would say I'd want you to speak to your health visitor and health visitor, your GP, to see how they would say the best thing to do is to respond. Because I don't specialise in for autism. But if she's quite happy in her cot, in her bed, or she's in a cot, then I would leave her to it. And also just make sure that she's having the right bedtime as well. So it's not too late, and equally not too early. Sorry, because I don't specialise in any in autism, I'm not trained in teaching baby and children with autism sleep training. That I would just check with your sleep specialist, a medical sleep specialist first. My son won't fall asleep without holding her hands through the bars of the cot, rubbing his head. My son won't fall asleep without holding her hand through the bars of the cot, rubbing his head and squeezing tightly. How to wean from this? So when you say he's rubbing is he rubbing his head with your hands, are you meaning? Yeah. So what I would do is you can just do that really gradually. So you'll fall asleep at the beginning holding your hand, and then you want to gradually take your hands away just before he falls asleep. Or you could do something where you'd sit by the side of him, offer him comfort. So if he's crying, you can give him a stroke or rub his whatever he likes. So let's say he likes rubbing his back or his chest, and then or even his head. If you stroke his head, and then anytime he stops crying, just sit back. Rubbing our hands on his head. Okay, so anytime he's crying, rub his head, and that can give him comfort. Anytime he stops crying, take your hands away and sit back. It's a really good sessioning approach. It's quite useful for anyone. Sit back anytime he's not crying, and just sit back and listen. If he starts crying again, you can offer him comfort and just keep repeating that. So that the idea is that he's going to fall asleep without you touching him, and then you can just gradually move further away. So you can hold your hands if you're crying. Anytime you stop crying, take your hands away and sit back. So don't let him fall asleep holding your hand. So it just becomes less and less. Okay, with a comforter, it takes persistence. So they might not be interested at the beginning. Comforters are safe for babies when after they're 6 months old. So you might throw it out, but then when they've fallen asleep, just put it next to him, because he might just pick it up and he'll surprise you one day, and he'll pick it up in the middle of the night and hold on to it. But yeah, I wouldn't keep putting it back in and out when he's awake. Just put it back in when he's asleep, and he might just grab it in the middle of the night, and you'll be surprised. Right, that is half hour. So thanks guys so much for joining. And I will be back on here. And if you've got other questions, I will be back on here not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. So I hope you all have a lovely weekend when it arrives. And I hope it's been useful. We'll see.